Welcome to my official UFC 311 statistics and fight analysis for all of the fights happening on the main card, in addition to the featured prelim between Peyton Talbot and Raoni Barcelos. We'll start with the main event, which is going to be a lightweight title rematch between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan. Islam Makhachev is currently 33 years old with a record of 26 wins and 1 loss. This is to Arman Tsarukyan's age of 28 years old and a record of 22 wins and 3 losses. When it comes to striking, Islam Makhachev throws 2.65 significant strikes per minute, which is less than Arman Tsarukyan's at 3.79, but Islam Makhachev has a higher striking accuracy at 60% compared to Arman's 49%. In addition, Islam has less knockout wins in his career at 5 compared to Arman Tsarukyan's 9, and Islam has a higher striking accuracy at 61% compared to Arman Tsarukyan's at 54%. When it comes to grappling, I think it's clear that the Dagestanian Islam Makhachev is the better grappler currently. He has a takedown accuracy of 54% and a takedown defense of 91%. In addition, he has 12 submission wins in his career overall and throws or attempts at least 1.06 significant strike or submissions per minute. This is all compared to Arman Tsarukyan's takedown accuracy of 37% and takedown defense at 75%. He has 5 submission wins only, and he has 0 attempts at a submission per minute on average. Based on durability, I would say that Islam Makhachev has taken hits from both Dustin Poirier and Alexander Volkanovski, both extremely heavy hitters known for their knockout power at that lower weight class. And he has this special ability that I think a lot of Dagestanians have, that when he gets injured, he'll instinctively go for the takedown rather than attempt to run, attempt to use head movement. He goes straight for the takedown, and it just helps save him. Arman Tsarukyan's durability is slightly up there as well. He has taken hits from both Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush, both guys who can hit pretty hard when the moment gives them the right moment, right? And he did manage to take a single hit from Dariush before knocking him out, and he went the full 15 minutes in a 3-round fight against Oliveira. So he's got to have something, part of a chin, but nothing crazy, such as Islam, who we really haven't seen rocked too much. Islam Makhachev is in a southpaw stance, and he has a fighting style of wrestling and combat sambo. This is compared to Arman Tsarukyan's orthodox stance, and he has an MMA fighting style, so he's not like a kickboxer or a wrestler. He's just all around extremely talented and pretty good with all his techniques. When it comes to reach and height, we know Islam Makhachev is 5'10" with a reach of 70.5 inches. Arman Tsarukyan is shorter at 5'7", but has 2 inches of reach at 72.5, so an advantage there. The last 5 fights that Islam Makhachev has had is Dustin Poirier, who he won in a round 5 submission, Alexander Volkanovski, who he beat with a round 1 head kick knockout, Alexander Volkanovski again, who he won against unanimous decision, which I thought was split, but it was unanimous apparently. Charles Oliveira, who he got the belt from with a round 2 submission, or round 1. Pretty sure it was round 1. I don't know why I wrote round 2. And Bobby Green, who apparently that's who he got his title shot from, which I don't necessarily agree with, who he got a round 1 knockout. Arman Tsarukyan's last 5 opponents were Charles Oliveira, who he won via split decision at UFC 300. Saw that one live. Beneil Dariush, who he won via a round 1 knockout. Joaquim Silva, who he won in a round 3 knockout. Damir Ismagulov, who he won via unanimous decision, and another unanimous decision against Matus Gamrot, who he lost against. Let me know below which one of these 2 you guys think are going to win, and we'll keep going. Merab Dvalishvili, the co-main event, going up against Umar Nurmagomedov for the bantamweight title. Let's do the stats. Merab is 33 years old and has a record of 18 wins and 4 losses. This is compared to Umar, who is the younger fighter at 28 years old with a record of 18 wins and 0 losses. When it comes to striking, Umar is better, I think, whereas Merab has the cardio and more just takedown advantage, but Merab throws around 4.35 significant strikes per minute with a striking accuracy of 42%, slightly lower in both volume and accuracy to Umar's 4.46 and 63% striking accuracy. Merab only has 3 knockout wins in his career, and this is more than Umar's at 2, but his career are very different. And Merab has a higher or lower striking defense at 57% compared to Umar's 64%. Like I said, when it comes to grappling, I think Merab has a slight advantage with a takedown accuracy of 37% and a takedown defense of 81%, but it's still lower against Umar's at 50% accuracy and 100% defense. Merab also has less finishing power because he has only one submission win in his career and only goes after 0.29 significant submission attempts per minute, compared to Umar's 7 submission wins and attempting 0.42 submissions per minute. Durability, we know that Merab's gone up against Sean O'Malley and taken serious hits, but it didn't seem to faze him. But he did get rocked by Henry Cejudo, but he's never been knocked out. Durability for Umar, he's fought and taken hits from Corey Sandhagen and Raoni Barcelos. He's never been knocked out before, and we haven't even seen him really get rocked, except for maybe when he went up against Beksat Almakhan. Stance and style for Merab is going to be orthodox, and he's a freestyle wrestler. Officially a freestyle striker, but he's not a striker. We know he just takes people down and then picks them back up. Umar is considered an orthodox style, and he has a fighting style of MMA, but I would say he's more of a wrestler, but even so, more of a striker than Merab is. Umar has the height advantage at 5'8" compared to Merab's 5'6", and he also has an extra inch of reach from 68 to 69 inches. The last 5 fights we've seen Henry Cejudo win, which is really his only great thing, is his resume, with number 1, his most recent being Sean O'Malley, who he won via unanimous decision. Henry Cejudo, he dominated with another unanimous decision. Peter Yan, he won versus unanimous as well. Jose Aldo Jr., he also won via a unanimous, and is one of his 3 knockout wins, Marlon Moraes, which was a round 2 knockout. Umar's got a less than ideal career in last 5 fights, except for Corey Sandhagen, which is his last one. He won via unanimous decision. Beksat Almakhan, another unanimous decision. Raoni Barcelos, who will be fighting also this night, but he won via round 1 knockout. Nate Maynes, he won via unanimous decision. And Brian Keller, who he beat via a round 1 submission. I'm not sure who I'm going to roll with except Umar. You never fight or never vote against a Dagestanian or bet against them. That's who I'll be predicting. The third fight on the main card, I call it the co-main event, is between Yuri Prochazka and Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. The stats say that Yuri is 32 years old with a record of 30 wins, 5 losses, and 1 no contest, whereas Jamal Hill is a couple of weeks or months older at 33 years old with a less than ideal record of 12 wins and 2 losses. Jamal Hill throws more significant strikes per minute at 7.18 compared to Yuri's 5.38, and they have the exact same striking accuracy at 55%. The big difference here is that Jamal only has 7 knockouts in his entire career and a striking defense of 46%. Yuri has 26 knockouts in his career with a striking defense of 40, so less than Jamal's. When it comes to grappling, Yuri's going to hold the advantage only due to the fact that Jamal doesn't care to take anyone down to wrestle. He's got a takedown accuracy of 60% and a takedown defense of 68%. Jamal's got a takedown accuracy of 0 and a takedown defense of 73%. Yuri Prochazka has only 3 submission wins in his career compared to Jamal's 0. And both of them, it doesn't even matter how many submissions they go for per minute. But if you want to hear, Yuri is at 0.24 to Jamal's 0. Durability, we know that both fighters have lost their last few fights to Alex Pereira via knockout. For Yuri, he had 1 fight in between his 2 matches against Alex where he beat Alexander Rakic by knockout. But we know Yuri, when it comes to durability, can take a serious amount of damage and will continue throwing punches due to just nature. His mind won't give up, apparently. But he leaves his hands extremely low and his chin extremely vulnerable, which a lot of people understand is an issue. Jamal Hill, we know, got knocked out by Alex Pereira in his last fight. He's got a better amount of significant defense than Yuri, and he keeps his hands high, so his chin's going to be protected. That's why I'm voting for him. But stance and style, we know both of these guys are strikers, but Jamal Hill is more of an MMA. He's still mostly a striker. Yuri's orthodox, whereas Jamal's southpaw, meaning that leg kick against Yuri is going to be extremely vulnerable, and we know Yuri is not good with that leg kick defense. Yuri Prochazka is 6'3" with a reach of 80 inches, which is going to be 1 inch shorter but 1 inch longer in reach to Jamal Hill's 6'4" with a reach of 79 inches. Yuri Prochazka's last 5 fights have been Alex Pereira, which he lost via round 2 knockout. Alexander Rakic, who he won via round 3 knockout. Alex Pereira again, which he lost due to round 3 knockout loss. Glover Teixeira, which he won a round 5 submission victory. And Dominic Reyes, who, if I remember correctly, he got a 3rd round knockout via elbows, but he was dominating that fight. Jamal Hill, his last fight was Alex Pereira at 300, which he lost via a round 1 knockout. Glover Teixeira, who he dominated for all 5 rounds to a unanimous decision. Thiago Santos, which he won via a round 4 knockout. Johnny Walker via a round 1 knockout. All Johnny Walker knockouts are fun. And Jimmy Crute, which he won via a round 1 knockout. I'm going to be predicting Jamal Hill. I want Yuri to win, but Jamal Hill is going to be the better decision when it comes to betting and such. The second fight on the main card is going to be Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano at lightweight. Beneil is the same age at 35 for both of them. They both have a record with a no contest, whereas Beneil's at 22-6-1. Renato is at 25-1. When it comes to striking, we know Renato actually throws more strikes at 4.42 compared to Beneil's 3.78. They have the same striking accuracy at 49%. Beneil has 5 knockout wins in his career, which is more than Renato Moicano's at 2. But Renato Moicano has a significant strike defense of 61%, which is 3% better than Beneil Dariush. When it comes to grappling, I think Renato Moicano is going to hold the advantage, who has a takedown accuracy of 44% compared to Beneil's 34%. Beneil has a takedown defense of 81% compared to Moicano's 73%, which I think is due to the fact that Moicano is better at submitting people on the ground. Beneil's got a good submission wins of 8 compared to Moicano's 10, so that gives him a bit of advantage, but not much. Beneil fights for 0.88 submissions per minute compared to Moicano's 0.56. When it comes to durability, both these guys have pretty good durability, with, I always say, Beneil having the lesser than, because he's coming off a knockout loss against, Arman Tsarukyan. So he might not immediately recover, but we know in his past fights, he won't, like Yuri, he won't stop swinging for the hills and trying to get that punch. We know that Moicano can get overwhelmed and knocked out if he is pressed, but he can take a decent amount of damage like he did against Jalen Turner. And if he is ever in danger, he can go for a takedown and submission. Stance and style for Beneil Dariush is he's a southpaw striker compared to Renato Moicano's orthodox stance and fighting style of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or BJJ. Renato Moicano has the height advantage at being a 5'11 versus 5'10, and they both have the same reach of 72 inches. The last 5 fights for Beneil Dariush were one against Arman Tsarukyan, which he lost via round 1 knockout. Charles Oliveira, who he also lost via round 1 knockout. Mateusz Gamrot, which he won via unanimous decision. Tony Ferguson, who he won against unanimous decision. And Diego Ferreira, who he won via split decision. Renato Moicano's last 3 were going to be against Benoit Saint-Denis, which he got a round 2 knockout due to the doctor stopping it. Jalen Turner, which he got a round 2 knockout, which a lot of people think he should have lost that, but Jalen chose not to hit him more. Drew Dober, who he won via unanimous decision. Brad Riddell, which he won via round 1 submission. And Rafael Dos Anjos, who he lost via unanimous decision. I'm picking Renato Moicano to win this, but let me know who you're picking. The head main card opening fight is between Kevin Holland and Reiner de Ridder at middleweight. We know that Kevin Holland is 2 years younger at 32 compared to Ridder's 34 years old. Holland has a record of 26 wins and 12 losses compared to Reiner's 18-2. Take what you want from that. I think that records don't necessarily mean as much as we think they do unless they're undefeated. Kevin Holland is going to be throwing a 4.24 significant strikes per minute, which is a lot more compared to De Ridder's 3.24. Holland has a better striking accuracy at a worse striking accuracy at 49% compared to De Ridder's 58%. Kevin Holland does have more knockout wins when compared to De Ridder, from 14-3. and has a better significant strike defense percentage at 51 compared to Day Ritter's 44. Kevin Holland has a takedown accuracy of 39%, which is slightly better than Day Ritter's 38%, but their takedown defense is his takedown defense is a lot worse at 54% compared to Day Ritter's 100%. When it comes to submission victories, Kevin Holland is at 8 and Day Ritter's at 13. We know that Kevin Holland doesn't go for a submission unless it is extremely easy for him, and that's at 0.59 compared to Reiner Day Ritter's submissions per minute of 1.28, which is a massive difference. Kevin Holland's only ever been knocked out twice, and these last few fights at middleweights have proved that he doesn't get rocked easily. Compared to durability, Reiner Day Ritter's been knocked out twice. His knockout losses have been more recent, meaning his chin is potentially compromised and available to the UFC's more athletically higher skilled athletes. We know Kevin Holland is a fighting style of Kung Fu and an orthodox stance compared to Reiner Day Ritter's southpaw stance and fighting style of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The last 5 fights for Kevin Holland have been Roman Dolidze, who he lost due to a rib injury in round 1. He didn't continue. Michal Alexiejczuk, which he won via round 1 submission, armbar. He ended up breaking it. And then we've got Michael Venom Page, who he lost via unanimous decision. Jack Della Maddalena, who he lost via split decision, and Michael Chiesa, who he won via round 1 submission. Reiner Day Ritter's last few fights, only one of them been in the UFC. That's the only one I care about, but he got a round 3 submission against Gerald Mearshart, who he won. Magomed Murad Kasayev, who he won via round 1 knockout. Anatoly Malkin, who he lost to twice, round 3 and round 1. And Vitaly Bigdash, who he won via round 1 submission. I'm going to go with my guy who I know who can win, Kevin Holland, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Finally, the featured prelim is between Peyton Talbot and Raoni Barcelos at bantamweight. Peyton Talbot is the younger guy by 9 years at 26 years old and has a record of 9 wins and 0 losses. Raoni is 37 with a record of 18 wins and 5 losses. Raoni is considered to be the highest skilled non-ranked bantamweight fighter. So Peyton Talbot's going to be throwing more significant strikes per minute at 8.39 with a higher striking accuracy of 56% compared to Raoni's 5.22 thrown per minute and 52% striking accuracy. Raoni has 1 more knockout win in his career at 8 compared to Peyton's 7. Peyton has a lower significant strikes defense percentage at 51% compared to Raoni's 85%. When it comes to takedowns, we know that Peyton Talbot's a striker and he's got 0% takedown accuracy and a takedown defense of 90%. Raoni has a takedown accuracy of 33% and a takedown defense of 85%, and that's going to be his best case to win this fight. Peyton only has 1 submission win in his career and throws and attempts only 0.47 submissions per minute compared to Raoni's 3 submission wins in his career and attempting 0.55 submissions in a minute. We haven't seen Peyton Talbot get rocked or even wobbled whatsoever, so it's safe to assume his chin is strong, plus he's young. Raoni's only ever been knocked out once, and he has aggressive fighting style, which will allow him to hopefully get into the pocket if he's in trouble and hit someone hard enough to rock them back. We know that Peyton Talbot is a switch fighting stance and an MMA fighting style, mostly a striker. We know Raoni Barcelos is an orthodox fighting stance, and he is a striker as well, so it could be a good matchup. Peyton Talbot does have a 3-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage at 5'10 and 70 compared to Raoni's 5'7 and 67 inches of reach. Peyton Talbot's last 5 fights have been against Giannis Gamori via round 1 knockout victory, Cameron Simon, who he won in a round 2 knockout, Nick Aguirre, who he won via a round 3 submission, his only submission, Reyes Cortez, who he defeated via unanimous decision, and of course, Christian Rivas, who he won via round 3 knockout before he was in the UFC. Raoni Barcelos has fought some of the best. His last fight was against Christian Quinones, who he won via round 3 submission. Kyler Phillips, who he lost via unanimous decision. Umar Nurmagomedov, who was the co-main event for this fight, who he lost via round 1 knockout, so his chin might be a little compromised. Trevin Jones, who he won via unanimous decision, and of course Victor Henry, who he lost via unanimous decision. These are my stats for UFC 311 happening this Saturday night. I want to know who you are predicting to win this fight and what are your predictions for the main card and such, and who's your favorite fighter that you're going to be excited to watch. Let me know below.